And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of UGA Sports Call-In Show with myself, Paul Maharry, alongside, as always, Smallwood. Trent on Twitter. His real name's Trent Smallwood, though sometimes he gets confused with the Trent Smallwood, but he is Trent Smallwood, and we are with UGASports.com. Trent, welcome back, man. Another week in the books. We're now in prime time. We have moved up to the prime time spot. We are at the 7:30 on a Sunday. I mean, I think that we are living high on the horse. Roddy gave us the big time for the channel, so feel obligated to make it happen this week, man. How are you?
Doing good. Ready to get this thing started on a Sunday night.
Yeah, man, and we've got some topics, so I switched it up a little bit. You can see on the broadcast down there in the bottom right, we've got topics for tonight. So just to give you a little recap of what we're going to talk about, we also would love to hear from you guys as well. 706-363-3773. These are kind of the topics we're going to run down in order. So 7-on-7 tournament standouts. There was a big tournament for 7-on-7 over in Myrtle Beach this past weekend. Our own Chad Simmons of Rivals.com was there and on site, so he was able to get some great key info for us that we'll be discussing. Also, UGA Basketball, ... So many things, so many questions about that team that I have questions for. Trent has the answers, or maybe vice versa. Look at him; he doesn't know. I don't know if anybody has the answers, but we'll check it out. UGA baseball is back. A lot of freshman pitchers over the weekend for Georgia against Evansville. We'll break that down. The UGA NFL mock draft. So a ton of guys are slated to potentially be drafted. It might be the biggest class in UGA history. We'll go over that. And then also secondary options with a question mark behind it. Guys, we got a little bit of information for you on Miller that we'll touch on, the kid from West Virginia. And then as well, also some other prospects that Georgia's looking at into the future that we'll touch on. Guys, I've got my notes here. I'm ready to rock and roll, ready to answer any questions that you guys have. You can put them in the chat, and then you can also give us a call, like I said, 706-363-3773. The phone line is open. We're ready to rock and roll. Guys, if you're watching us, like always, let us know where you're watching from. Put it in the comments. Let us know you're here. Go Dogs is already here saying he's joking. I don't even know what he's joking about, but he's joking already, man. So we're ready to rock and roll. I think Dave McStats might join us in the comments as well. Who knows? So we're just going to have fun with it. To start it off, Trent, like I said, we've got the topics for tonight. 7-on-7 tournament over in Myrtle Beach. Tons of UGA prospects were on hand. Gunnar Stockton was out there. Trent, Chad Simmons walked away impressed by a lot of guys that Georgia's in on right now.
Yeah. The UGA commit, Mr. Bowie himself. And
yes.
There were several guys that he came away impressed with that should be able to take notice of those guys moving forward.
Absolutely. And like you said, we've got Bowie, who last year tore his ACL and MCL, wasn't able to really be on the field at all, and he was still ranked 62nd overall coming into the class of 22 rankings. And Chad Simmons put in his article that that's too low, Trent. He thinks that he is going to be even better than the 62 ranked overall player in the nation. And it sounded like to me, just from the kind of the writing on the wall, from what he was able to produce out there, he might creep up into that really high 4-star, 5-star range.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, and that's good news for Georgia. Landon, it shouldn't be. I don't guess it should be a mystery that Georgia lands top recruits every year, but that's just it's good news for the fans that it looks like Georgia's on their way of landing another stellar class in the class of 2022, 23, and beyond.
The biggest thing that I kind of walked away from was obviously so many Georgia wide receivers this year. It's a position that I think that they're really going to try to recruit heavily, and a couple of guys that were out there at that 7-on-7 tournament. Kojo Antwi, I think I said it right, Trent. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know the kid, 6'1", 185 out of Lambert High School. He's known for his speed, but Chad said his hands were the big thing that showed out on the field there. A couple other guys that were out there that we've tracked for a long time, and we've seen them in person, Sam Mbake and Denylon Morsetti. Two guys, 6'2", 6'3". And, I mean, I was going down through the list of guys in the state of Georgia at wide receiver, and those three guys stuck out in a major way, and Georgia's in play for all three of them, it seems like right now, right?
Well, yeah, you got to feel good about. I guess you got to feel a little good about Georgia's chances with Gunnar Stockton throwing to these guys, with who happens to be a Georgia commit now. So anytime Georgia can, have Gunnar committed this early, have quarterback committed this early, a top tier quarterback like Gunnar, it's going to help, especially when they're playing 7-on-7 together every weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of other guys who were out there at that 7-on-7 tournament, obviously, MGK, as we all know him, Marquise Groves Killebrew, another Brookwood connection. It seems like Brookwood is, mini UGA right now, especially with the way that MGK is trying to recruit those wide receivers, and also the quarterback that's in the 23 class that Georgia has interest in as well. So, it looked like a really star-studded event in Myrtle Beach this weekend with a lot of guys that Georgia's going to be looking at moving forward. And like I said, Bowie being able to get out there and get in front of Chad Simmons, I think his ranking could potentially, move up. And it doesn't hurt that you've already got him committed. It looks like that class of 2022 trend is really starting to kind of take form, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, having your leader of the class, which is usually a quarterback, having Stockton already committed, and then having Bowie and those guys already committed, Killebrew. It looks like Georgia's going to be strong in state, and they got the big defense tackle out in Texas, but it looks like Georgia's going to be strong in state, and rightfully so with what's going on in the country and uh, basically the world today. It's hard to get on campus, them pushing back the dead period once again, and focusing in state and trying to land these elite guys in state is what Georgia needs to be doing, and it seems like that's the approach early on for
Trent, I know we didn't have it as a topic for tonight, but yeah, you bring up a great point, man. The NCAA dead period has been moved back to, what was it, May 31st?
Yep.
Man, it's got to be tough for these 2022 kids, man. You weren't able to come last year as a, rising junior in your junior season, and now you're not able to take those spring visits. It's going to be really tough for smaller programs. I don't know if it's going to be so tough for Georgia, but smaller programs to, have any chance of landing a top tier kid out of state, because it just seems like right now it's so hard to get those kids onto campus. You can't, you're not able to host kids. It just seems like this. I feel like last year it was difficult, right? But a lot of those kids have been able to visit. They had been able to see the stadium at least at one point in their, earlier high school career. Some of these kids that are class of 2022 kids have kind of blown up and really didn't have the opportunity to visit a campus. Trent, what is your take on the class of 2022 not being able to, at least until May 31st, even to catch a whiff of Athens?
It's tough. I mean, especially with the out-of-state prospects. Most of the in-state prospects have had a chance to visit the university, and that's the good thing about recruiting in-state in this class, is because that they've had that opportunity to meet with coaches or just be on staff, be on campus in general.
Right.
So it's tough, especially for these prospects. I don't know. May 31st, they're just prolonging it another month just to see if things change, and if things are still active with the coronavirus, you're going to see it pushed even further, and that's going to get into fall, and that makes it tougher for kids to get on campus because their high school schedules have started. So it is tough for these kids because this is the time, most of the kids like to break down, get to a top 5 or so, and really focus on them 5-6 schools moving into the fall. That way their visits are limited in the fall, and they can really just, zone in on those finalists. But it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I don't want to be in the mind of an 18-year-old, but I know it's tough on them.
Right, and one thing that keeps popping back in my head is if you're not able to get on campus to other schools, but you were already able to get on campus at Georgia, like you said, Trent, earlier in their careers, I think that can only be a plus for Georgia moving forward. Just like if a kid from Alabama, a 10th grader or a 9th grader was able to get on campus and see Nick Saban or see Auburn, it's going to be in favor for them. So it's going to be tough to really pull kids out of other states. You're going to have to really build those relationships, and that's one thing that Kirby Smart has done for his entire time at Georgia. His whole staff is about building relationships. Del McGee is the relationship guru, so I don't see that having too big of a factor on Georgia. I know they want to get these kids back on campus at some point, and I really hope that, when the season comes back around, they're able to at least come for games and things like that. Because if you're not able to do that, I think this class is where you're going to see a lot of untapped potential kids that just rise up because there's not really any camps for them to go to. Not a lot of coaches are able to see them, so it's going to be interesting to see where that whole NCAA dead period takes us to. James Bond in the chat said it's time to ditch the NCAA. That's a topic for another story. I mean, that could be a whole podcast or a whole call-in show in and of itself. But yeah, you could be onto something there, James Bond. Jeremiah Kelly says he's watching from Nashville, Tennessee. We appreciate it. Mitchell Fletcher out in Mesa, Arizona. Thanks for the show, boys. He says Mesa, Arizona. Trent, you ever been to Mesa, Arizona? You ever been out? I've never been past. I think Arkansas. I think actually.
You need to get out more.
Well, Have you been to the West Coast?
Well, I've been to California. I've been to Texas, but I've never been to Arizona. That's one place I've never been. But it sounds exciting. Mesa.
Right. Yeah, I mean, why not? I think like in Arizona, there's only like 7 or 8 counties. They're just huge counties, though. I'm not a geography expert, okay, but I don't think they have 400 some odd thousand counties like we do here in the state of Georgia. So
the only thing I know about Arizona is Keely Ringo.
Yeah, Keely Ringo, and we're going to touch on that in the secondary options. You're in a little later on in the show. Guys, if you're just now joining us, we do have the phone line open, 706-363-3773. If you have any questions, want to just talk with us about Georgia sports, we're going through a variety of sports tonight. We're going to talk on, like we said, we just talked about the 7-on-7 that happened over in Myrtle Beach. The next topic we're going to touch on, Trent, is UGA basketball, man. I've got questions, man. I've got questions.
I probably don't have answers because I didn't watch it, so.
I've got questions, though, man. First off, okay, so the first half just looked – there was a lid on the actual basket for Georgia. They couldn't hit from anywhere. I think they were 0 for God knows what. Dave says 15 counties in Arizona. He said he was there last December. Thank you, Dave. Dave, what was Georgia's first half field goal percentage? I know it was just atrocious against Florida, but somehow they came back, made it a game, only lost by 7, and they're just so inconsistent, man. I don't understand it, Trent. What is your take on it?
That's the main thing. They're inconsistent. They don't. You look at these other teams like Alabama and Tennessee, Missouri, those teams. And I know Georgia knocked off Missouri, but they just shoot the 3 ball better, and that's what the game's gotten to now. And Georgia's just so inconsistent. You see, apparently they struggled yesterday against Florida, especially in the first half.
Yeah.
But then you look at the Missouri game, and they just lit it up.
Right.
So
right.
It's just that's it. They're just so inconsistent, and they tend to turn the ball over too much. Their guard play, although KD's brought some excitement to the guard play, there's still just way too many turnovers and just inconsistent 3-point shooting, and I think that's really held them back.
So what I'm looking at right here, Trent, I'm looking at the stats, just the overall stats from the year. One thing that really sticks out to me, and I don't understand why necessarily. KD Johnson, he's only played in 12 games. That was because of the whole academic issue, and now he's able to play, but he hasn't started a single game. But he's second on the team in points per game, right behind Wheeler. And every time that I see the kid, I think he gets better on the court. Yes, obviously he's a freshman, but he's a very talented kid. I just don't know why he's not incorporated into that starting 5 or getting more minutes. He's getting 22 minutes a game, whereas you've got a guy, let's see, I'm going down the list here. You got a guy like PJ Horn, who started all 22 games, averaging 28 minutes. You got a guy like Ty Fagan averaging 22 minutes. It's just the rotations for me, Kerr averaging 31 minutes. The rotations for me just seem a little bit kind of wonky. But then you go to the team total and 3-point percentage sitting at a cool 31%. It's a combination of things. And Dave just said first half UGA shot 32% in the first half, including, and this was the stat I was getting at, but I didn't know it offhand. Thank you, Dave. 1 for 12 from 3-point percentage. When you're playing a team like Florida, who has playmakers at every position, you have to be on your toes. And 1 for 12 in the first half at 3, and then you only lose by 7. The two stats don't really add up together. You lost by 7, but you're 1 from 12 from 3. So what it tells me is there's guys that can make baskets on this team. There's guys that can push the tempo. They love to push a tempo. They're one of the fastest teams in the SEC in terms of that rate, but they're not able to. They shoot themselves in the foot too much, it seems like, or the wrong rotations on the floor at the same time. I don't know, Trent. You have any answers for the fans that are watching right now? Because I don't.
I don't. I mean, I can kind of understand why KD comes off the bench because you got Severe Wheeler that can handle the ball, and you don't really have many other guys that can handle the ball. And bringing a guy off the bench that can handle the ball, that can to give Severe some time off the court and rotating that, then have them on the court together at the end of the game. I mean, I kind of understand that.
Hey, Trent, we've got a call. Let me get that right quick.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for calling into UGA Sports Call-In Show. This is Paul and Trent. Who we've got on the line tonight?
Hey guys, it's Brandon.
Boy, if we can't have a show without Brandon starting off, Brandon starts off the show calling in, and then that's when everybody else calls in. Brandon's got to be the one to call in and I guess take the lid off of things. And we're talking about Georgia basketball taking the lid off here. So Brandon, what's going on? What's on your mind, man?
There you go. I appreciate it, like always, taking the call. Glad to get in first so that I can get it out of the way and listen to you guys.
We appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for doing some basketball talk. What I want to know is how you guys feel about the inconsistency of the program. And not just in one season, it's just up and down all the time. What do you think could finally be a piece, if one or several pieces, to really, have a consistent program, even if it's not a top tier program, just a consistently better program?
Right. No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right there, Brandon. That's the thing that's lacking right now is the consistency. And I think that they had it a little bit with Fox. He was able to go 500 or so in the SEC. But I think they thought that Tom Crean was going to be the option. And him bringing in Anthony Edwards obviously was huge for the program. Bringing in KD Johnson this year, I think you have to just continually try to build those relationships in and around Metro Atlanta with the top tier programs. And it's not going to be an overnight thing. You're not going to be able to go take out, the top 2 players from McEachern next year. But you have to build that relationship with the McEachern head coach. And I think that that's one thing this program is lacking in a little bit is recruiting and being able to build and form those bonds with the high school coaches around town, the AAU coaches around town. There's enough talent in state, Brandon, to be able to make this team at least an SEC bubble team every year. The same thing goes for Tech, to be honest. I mean, they're in the same state. They're not doing great in terms of recruiting the state. But I think, Georgia football, we always talk about locking down the borders, keeping the best kids in state. You have to realistically think, yes, of course, you're going to lose some kids to bigger programs, but you need to start taking those 4 stars, those high 3 stars out of the state of Georgia and building your program like that. So I hope that kind of answers your question. And if not, man, maybe you can call in next week and ask it again. I don't know.
No, that definitely answers the question, but that's certainly not going to stop me from calling in next week.
Did you put anything on the barbecue this weekend?
No, not this weekend. I'm on a little bit of a fitness journey, hotness journey.
Okay.
We're, hitting the bike, running, lifting some weights. So the grill's taking a little bit of a back seat.
So you're getting ready for spring practice. You're going to start running like those guys, huh?
There you go. You'll see me leading the pack.
There you go, big man. So you're leading the pack again, calling in. We always appreciate you giving us a call, Brandon. And tell your friends, shout us out on Twitter. Let them know we're live, man. Tell them to give us a call.
See you guys.
All right, brother. Hey, man, he's exactly right, dude. I think that you have to start with UGA basketball just like you want to do in UGA football. You have to start locking down the state. Is Crean the guy to do that? I don't know, but maybe you get a guy on your staff who knows the area extremely well, has great connections. I don't know, Trent. Is that what you're thinking?
It's not about. I mean, he needs to take a page out of Kirby's notebook, honestly, because you got. Uh, I mean, even when Kirby's out recruiting, even when he's not even noticeable out recruiting, he's building those relationships with the coaches among the state. Even if they don't have any top tier talent at that school, in that year, he's like, well, maybe there is going to be there in the future. So he's out. Like in January. I know that this past year uh, they went out recruiting because of the dead period, but I mean, bet your money on Kirby and his whole staff being out at different schools along Georgia. Building those relationships. I know if they're down in uh, you know, Savannah recruiting, they're going to go to the neighboring schools to build those relationships. If
Right.
they're in Atlanta, they're going to not only hit up, an Atlanta school, for example, like Westminster or something like that. They're going to hit up the surrounding schools. They're out building relationships, and I think that's one thing that Georgia basketball has lacked, and it's recruiting the in-state and building those relationships in-state where you can have that draw to stay home, and it's just not there.
Dave McMahon says, I was talking about KD Johnson. Since he started playing back on January 13th, he's fifth most in minutes on the team. Wheeler's got 422, Kamara 344, Kerr 340, Horn 338, KD 267, Fagin 253, and Garcia 191. So, yeah, I mean, KD's definitely getting to play. I would like to see more of him and Severe on the floor is all I'm saying. And Dave also says it happens when you lose recruits to blue bloods, like the Kentuckys and Dukes, who aren't doing great this season. But it sucks when the Dogs lose this in-state recruits to Auburn and Alabama, kind of like the Sharif Cooper, who's playing for Auburn now, from McEachern, who, had you recruited McEachern a little bit better, there's been a ton of guys that come out of there. Isaac Okoro, who's now in the league. So you start getting into those blue blood high school programs in the state of Georgia, and then you can kind of turn that around. But until then, I think it's going to be tough for Georgia basketball to really, do much inside the state. Kenneth Lewis says, what happens to my man Carson Beck? Carson Beck put out a tweet the other day saying, everything happens for a reason or something along those lines. I think Carson right now, Trent, is going into spring practice, going to fight for a spot and see what happens, right?
I mean, yeah, that's all. That's the only thing you can do. I mean, it's obvious that JT is probably the guy this year, but everything's going to be open. Competition come next year, and it's going to be, you got Beck and you got Gunnar Stockton, who will be coming in as a true freshman, and of course you have the own Athens native Brock Vandegrift, who
Right.
will be,
You got
ready.
Jackson. You got Jackson Muschamp too. Watch out.
Yeah. Um,
But-
but um, I, I think a lot will be told this year. Who's the backup
Yeah.
quarterback to JT? I think
Yep.
that'll be a big push of if Brock wins that job, who's the backup quarterback? Is Beck still down the pecking order? And if Brock passes him this year, I think you could see Beck move on because for obvious reasons of the future.
So kind of getting to the next topic, I think we've touched on basketball enough. They play Tuesday against LSU. See what team shows up, I guess, against LSU. But to move on to the next topic at hand, guys, baseball is back. So Georgia baseball is back in action. They were in Athens this weekend playing against Evansville, and Georgia lost the first game. Man, they lost 3-1. And if you were over on the Vent or over on the UGASports forums, you would have thought the sky was falling, but it wasn't. Georgia came back, won the next 3 games, Trent, so they won that series against Evansville 3-1. They do play a midweek game against Georgia State on Wednesday, and then next weekend against Gardner-Webb for 4. But the big thing that showed out to me, Trent, and I know you love baseball just as much as I do, you've coached several travel ball teams and things of the like. You ever won a championship with those teams, Trent?
Yeah. We've won a couple championships. I mean, I got trophies all over the place. You know?
Okay, well, bring them out then. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Is that a participation trophy or is that a first place trophy?
First base trophy. I got a belt. You know.
Dang! Look at you.
We've won some trophies. Yeah, that's basically. I wasn't around this weekend. I got a 2030 prospect in my household.
There you go.
He's keeping me busy, basketball and baseball. But yeah, it's baseball. I'm ready to get back into the warm weather with the crack of those bats.
Yeah, man. But anyways, talking about that Georgia baseball team, they had 8 freshman pitchers pitch this weekend. Trent went 20 and a 2/3 innings for those freshmen. They only gave up 6 runs on 6 hits, 15 walks, but at the same time, almost 21 innings, 21 walks and hits. That gets you a 1.0 WHIP. So walks, hits per innings pitched, pretty dang good. So I didn't think anybody, even our own Anthony Dasher, thought there was going to be so many freshmen pitching this weekend, but he says that he thinks that this recruiting class that just came in, that's freshman this year, is going to kind of rival that 2017 class that they had all of those big-name guys to get drafted out of. I think this Georgia team is fun to watch. I was able to catch a few minutes of one of their games this weekend, and they've got a really good catching prospect that I like. They've got the bats. I think they're a little bit young. Especially like we said with the freshman pitching. But at the same token, I think that Strickland, for whatever reason, Strickland really caught a lot of grief with this Georgia baseball team, but he's turned it around, and they could potentially even see a NCAA berth this year. But it's just fun to have Georgia baseball back, because any college baseball in general, but seeing a young team like Georgia and then watching them develop throughout the year will be interesting. If you want any Georgia baseball news, the best guy in the business, hands down, is Anthony Dasher. He works with us. He does his best job covering the team. He knows these guys inside and out. He doesn't miss a beat. He loves baseball, guys, and this is kind of a passion sport for him, so he's going to put everything he's got into it. So if you're not a member at UGASports.com and you're a baseball fan, especially a Georgia baseball fan, make sure to take a look at maybe getting a subscription and checking it out. Moving on to the next thing, Trent. Guys, like I said, the phone line's open, 706-363-3773. If you're watching right now, guys, put in the chat, where are you watching us from? We want to know where you're watching us from. We had Mesa, Arizona earlier, and then we also had Nashville, Tennessee. Nobody else gave us locations, though, but we want to see where you're at. We want to interact with you guys as much as possible, so let us know, man. The next thing on the docket, Trent, for the topics for tonight is Robert Piper says he agrees on Dash and baseball. He's exactly right. Oh, I missed your question, Robert. He said, why are we seeing so many 2023 commits this early? Normally with Kirby in the past, seems late summer when commitments come. Trent, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's the same exact reason we touched on earlier with the COVID situation. They're going with what they are comfortable with at the time, and a lot of these kids are comfortable with Georgia because they've been, Kirby's been here for 5 years now, so they're constantly building those relationships from the time that they hit 8th grade. And
hey, Trent, we got a call, man, and we'll finish that thought. Hey, you're on with Trent and Paul. Who we've got calling us on the telephone here?
Jake Roos, UGASports.com.
Hot diggity dog, man. I have you blocked on my personal phone, so I didn't recognize the phone number. So, what's going on, man? How you living, brother?
Man, not too bad. I'm glad to hear that you're, like most of the women in the Southeast, blocking my number. All right. So.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it. Maybe if Trent was running the board over here, he would have, but I have it completely blocked on mine as do not answer. So, but anyways, man, yeah, we were just talking earlier in the show about some recruiting. Chad Simmons was up there at the 7-on-7. What was it? NPA, I think was what it was called over there in Myrtle Beach.
NFA.
NFA, excuse me. I get my NFAs and NRAs and NP, all those confused. So, but Going back to my notes over here, he said, Bowie is the man.
Yeah, pretty strong words, I thought, for Chad to use to say, listen, I mean, this kid's ranked, right around 60 for us in the Rivals rankings. He said, this is too low for this guy. I think that this is a big step up, and I got to be honest with you, that's huge news because this is a kid that's coming off of a knee injury. Georgia really liked what they had, obviously from the jump on him, but he's a kid who brings a lot of speed. Just a lot of tenacity back there. And, I think kind of has that killer instinct that you want at defensive back. That's how Bowie's always struck me. So that's big news for Georgia. That's big news for this class. And I think that, his commitment can go a long way to continuing to help suture up things down there in South Georgia.
I was just thinking the same thing. Trent, I want to bring you in on this. If you want to ask Jake, you just fire away, man. You can cut me off as well. But the next thing I want to touch on, Jake, was kind of what we touched on earlier. The wide receivers in Georgia, man, it really seems like they've got a good 3 to 4 kids in the state of Georgia, and Georgia can really pick and choose who they want to look at, whether that be Kojo or Mbake or Denylon. There seems like a lot of big-time prospects that are all playing together on the same kind of 7-on-7 team, Hustle Inc., and it just seems like kind of a match made in heaven for Georgia if they're looking for wide receivers in this class.
Yeah, really a huge boon to Georgia because, you go light in the last class, take 2 guys at the wide receiver position, so you know that you're going to go heavy in this round, and they've got some guys that in state that I think are, bona fide playmakers. To me, Kojo is the guy. I think that he's the apple of everyone's eye right now. And, understandably so. That's a guy who, one of those silent assassin types, just not a guy who's out there doing the recruiting game, not doing a lot of media, but, does it when he's asked, gets out there and speaks, and, just a playmaker though, 6'1", probably 6'1.5", and just a guy who can get out there and bang, and from a non-traditional powerhouse. Lambert, not exactly known, not exactly known as somewhere that's been putting out, D1 prospects year in and year out. They've had some good players definitely come through there, but he looks like a kid who's really kind of reshaping the face of that program. I love Kojo. I think that he's, it could be a great addition to Georgia's class, and there's no question in my mind that Cortez Hankton agrees with me.
Right. Kind of the next guy we were going to touch on, and I guess we'll touch on him now. We were going to go into the NFL mock draft, but since you called in, we'll go into secondary options. A guy that stood out to Chad, and then a guy that speaks really highly of Georgia is Traequan Fagins out of Oxford, Alabama. 6'2", 180-pound defensive back. Jake, sounds like he wants to be a dog. Sounds like we might need to call up the butt smear department and tell them, hey, man, there's a playmaker over here. But they've already got MGK. They've got Bowie. What's your thoughts on him as a prospect?
Oh, I love Fagins, man. I think that he's a kid. You talk about those 2 guys. I'd say Bowie, he's on the smaller side, probably playing about 5'10", 5'11". You got Killebrew, he's probably about 6 foot, 6'1". Then you got your big guy in Fagins, and I think that he's just a what Kirby Smart drools over when he talks about defensive backs. 6'2.5", 6'3", 180 pounds, can run, can defend. And, you got to give Georgia all the credit in the world for the job that they've done recruiting that kid because, that's not easy territory. Now, Alabama has not come in with an offer yet on him. And I believe Auburn is still maybe holding that out too. But you got to think that if those 2 teams decide to wake up on it, maybe Georgia's put some big distance between themselves and those in-state powers. You got to hope so anyway. This could be a kind of a Clay Webb situation where Georgia's early attention and early push really ends up benefiting them strongly.
Trent, what you got for our man Roos over here?
I'm just wondering if he's driving his mail carrier truck right now.
No, actually, I just got home, but good question. I do. I drive the right-hand drive because I'm a real man.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is?
Yeah. hey, I can do it. I can do it both ways. I'm a switch hitter, baby. That's what I mean. I'm Chipper Jones over here.
So for full context, we were able to see Jake and have dinner with him this week. And Jake, what exactly is the car, or the excuse me, it's not a car, it's an SUV. What exactly is it called?
It is it's called a Toyota Hilux Surf.
A Hilux Surf.
Japanese. Yeah, it's the Japanese version of the 4Runner, essentially. So it's a 1993 model. Went and picked it up from a Japanese importer, and gotta say, man, a lot of guys dream about driving Lambos and Bugattis and such. I feel pretty blessed to be driving my dream car.
So that's the dream car, really?
That was always the dream car, buddy. I mean, I've been
Wow.
My big thing. Listen, I've had bad luck with cars. All right.
Okay.
So I started years ago researching what's the most reliable vehicle on earth, and this was what came up, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
So this thing is just going to be the right-hand driver for years to come.
I hope. Well, I sometimes I say I'm going to give it to my kids, and then I say I hope I'll just outlive them and get to keep it the rest of my life. So
wow. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. I mean, I rode around in a parking lot with him. For you guys watching over on YouTube, a small parking lot, mind you. I got into the left-hand front seat with no steering wheel and felt completely out of place, even in just the parking lot. I don't know how much money you'd have to pay me, Jake, to ride with you like on the highway in that thing. It would have to be a good bit of money, because I was absolutely scared to death sitting in there on the left-hand side, and we were in an actual parking lot with no other cars driving. So
I don't know how much you'd have to pay me to let you drive it based on your reactions.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. I did want to drive it. I did want to drive it at one point, but that is not going to be the case anymore. I'm too freaked out. But Jake,
I wouldn't let Paul drive my daughter's Fisher Price. So
hey man, hey, slow and steady wins the race. Okay, guys, I know.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
But any last parting words before we let you go, Roos? We appreciate you giving us a call here on your Sunday evening.
Yeah, no problem. You mentioned the Nylon Morris set, and I think that's going to be a really interesting recruitment to watch going forward. I didn't think so until Gunnar Stockton came into the fold for Georgia. I think that ended up being a real boom for Georgia in that regard. I'm not saying that Georgia wins out strictly based on that. Listen, the kid is from Alabama. All his family's Alabama. Every time I've seen him, he's wearing Alabama gear. But I think Georgia's a lot closer in that race because of Gunnar Stockton. So watch out for Denylon Morissette. They're going to continue to recruit him hard. As you mentioned, Coach Owant, I think Sam Mbake can be the big receiver in this class, big bodied guy. And especially now so that A.J. Johnson is off the board to LSU, I think that makes a lot more sense for them to go out and get a big target like that. And then I'll tell people, too, be on the lookout tomorrow morning. We got some great stuff coming to UGASports.com. Got a great interview with Branson Robinson, who, very interestingly enough, sitting at a 3-star right now. He made the list the other day for making the case of who should be the number 1 running back in the nation. And
right.
Pretty compelling to make the jump from 3 to 5. But I think that's a kid with a lot of talent. Georgia likes what he has to offer. Del McGee has been telling him he's top target at running back in 2022. And it's pretty clear, I think, from the interview that we did that, Georgia is sitting very, very well. So I encourage people to get over there and check that out.
We appreciate it, Rooster, as always, man. Take it easy in that riding whip you got there.
Hey, you boys stay safe.
All right, man. You too. That's the perfect person to have on the show because he knows what he's talking about, but also the comment that he made about the 3-star running back potentially jumping to a 5-star running back, it goes back to exactly what we were talking about earlier in the show, Trent, about guys not being able to be seen as much due to COVID, football program's not playing, camp's not running. You're going to see more of these guys throughout the year. I don't think this is going to be the first one where you see make a huge jump like that. So it's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of diamonds out there in the rough still uncovered, I think, for the class of 2022 and even 2023, of course.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it'll continue throughout the year to see different names pop up. And I'd like to know who the last kid was that reached 5-star status that was not 5-star status at the beginning of the year and never hit 4-star status. That'd be interesting.
Hey, Dave McStats, get on it. We got another caller, though. Let's see who's up. Hey, you're on with Paul and Trent. What can we do for you?
How y'all guys doing this Sunday night?
Good, man. How are you? Who are we talking with?
This is Cool Sale. How you doing? Columbus, Georgia.
Cool Sale? How do I? So it's COOCELL?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Okay, good, man. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing just wonderful. I'm hearing all the great news we're doing on the recruiting front for the 22 class. I just had a question for y'all guys. Where are we at on the grad transfer for his DBs? You know, I seen that we got the guy, Addy, from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, from West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of West Virginia film. So I see he has a nephew that's in the secondary also. And it's a kid that played at Sprayberry, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That's already in the portal. I guess what my question is, what's the chances he bring more than one of his former players from West Virginia to the University of Georgia?
Yeah, I'll jump in first. I don't know if more than one. I definitely don't think more than one. And for Miller, one thing with Miller, he's not going to be able to commit until the summer anyway to whatever program that he picks. So whether it be Georgia or whether it be South Carolina, Auburn, whoever, he's not going to be able to make that decision until summer. I don't know if Georgia's looking that direction. We've got a little bit of information on that to where I don't know, Cool Cell, if Georgia's leaning that direction with Miller. I think all the stars kind of align towards that with his defensive backs coach coming to Georgia. You've got, him being a kid that's a grad transfer, played lights out at West Virginia. I just don't know if Georgia's going in that direction from what we've heard. It could definitely change, but as of right now, I don't see him as being the grad transfer defensive back that Georgia's going after. Do I think that they will go after one? Absolutely. I think you almost have to. But also, there is a kind of some rumblings going around, if you call him that, Cool Cell, and that's being that Kirby might just like the guys that he's got on campus, and I think we might be looking into this too deep. I do still think, even if he likes all the guys he has on campus, I do still think that they're looking at that transfer portal hard every single day. They're going to find a defensive back that fits their scheme. They're wanting extremely fast, guys in the 4.4 range. Miller's not right there, I don't think. But they're looking for guys that are extremely fast to kind of come in and fill in those shoes of Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes. But at the same time, and I'll let Trent kind of touch on this too before we let you go, they've kind of been spoiled with defensive backs and speed recently. So I think you're looking for guys that, if they're that good and got 4.4 speed, their own coaches are trying to keep them in-house, right? So you're going after guys that are going to be kind of leftovers in the sense, and not saying that that's the case, but they could, not be exactly what Kirby and company are looking for. Trent, you have anything to add to that for Cool Cell before we let him roll?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You touched on most of it, but, they're looking for Kirby's looking for his, 6'1" plus, defensive back that's going to be a press man corner that can run that 4.40. And from what we understand, Miller somewhere in between the 4.6 and the 4.7 mark. So I'm not sure that they're going to go that route. I know they're still evaluating. I know they're still looking at film of Miller, looking at film of other guys, but I'm not sure they'll go that direction. But they are still in the look. I know that I do expect them to bring in at least one. But it's got to be the right one, and I think they're just going to stay patient and stick with the guys they have unless they find that one that they're looking for.
Where would they possibly get that, from the JUCO ranks, or will they wait to out there spring ball and a guy falls down the depth chart or something like that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll wait, and see. after spring ball, see if there's still some legs on this LSU story, and there's still there's some ongoing stuff going on in the NCAA to see if any of those guys end up in any of those schools end up falling into the portal. I don't think they want to rush this process. I think they want to be patient, and especially knowing that Miller can't commit or can't enroll at a school, they can be patient with that as well. But I don't think they're in any rush, and I think they're just going to be patient, play it out, and see. Uh, if any of these guys elect anything comes out of NCAA sanctions or anything, and see if anybody falls in the portal.
I think you made a good point though, Cool. So I think you're looking at kind of that after spring to see if they could bring in another guy. And with it being a grad transfer, a guy that can play right away, he's going to have experience. So missing spring ball might not be the end all be all in terms of, getting a guy onto the team and starting him day one at a corner position or star or wherever you want him at.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. I appreciate that, and y'all got a great show. Keep it going, guys.
Hey, man, we sure appreciate you, and make sure to call in next time. We love hearing from you.
No problem. Good night.
All right, you too. Man, that was he asked some good questions, and we were kind of getting to that in secondary options, so we touched on that for you guys already. So we will move on to Robert Piper while I'm pulling this up. Trent, he says, any 4-4 corners at Tennessee currently? I don't know off the top of my head. And here we go. So Georgia has the potential to have the most kids drafted out of any classes they've ever had. The last time, the most they've ever had drafted were 8. And so if you look at it, they've got potentially 13 to 14 kids. So I'm going to go down the list here, Trent. You got Aziz, potentially in the first round. Then you got Tyson Campbell, Ben Cleveland, Richard LeCount, Monty Rice, Trey Hill, Eric Stokes, DJ Daniel, he has Jamie Newman on here. I don't know how Georgia fans feel about. I'm assuming that when he gets drafted, he's going to have Georgia Bulldogs by his name. Trent, is that the case? You think?
I'm not sure yet. That's a tough one. He never played it down for Georgia. He did officially enroll in Georgia. He was part of the football team, but I don't know how they're gonna go about that. I don't. I mean, I think Georgia. I think Newman. I think all parties would be just okay with him going to Wake Forest. I mean,
right. I think that he would catch more grief if he put on a UGA, or if they put UGA stuff on there. I think that he's a Wake Forest quarterback, and that's what it is. And then you have Mark Webb, Malik Herring, and Trey McKitty. So even if you take him off, you're going to have, and this keeps messing up on me, but I think they're going to have 12 to 13 guys get drafted. It's going to be the largest draft class in history. And with the way social media is right now, I can promise you Kirby and his staff are going to push that all over social media. And this is one of his biggest classes. He's got Richard LeCount in it, who was his first guy that he had commit to him in the sense that he kind of helped bring Kirby's program forward. So it's just going to be interesting kind of to see what happens moving forward with that NFL draft. So
yeah, and I think talking about this year, I think next year has potential of being the highest guys. Maybe the most people taken in the top 2 rounds for Georgia. That next year's class has a chance to be elite. I'm not sure it'll have the total number, because Georgia still is young, has some young talent out there. But I think that has a chance to be up there as well.
So Trent, we touched on a lot on this show, man. 7-on-7 tournament standouts, a ton of Georgia prospects there. Gunnar Stockton was there. UGA basketball, the inconsistencies there, but also some positives, also some negatives. You had baseball is back finally. You got the Bats hitting over in Athens. Georgia coming away with a 3-1 series victory over Evansville. And then you also have, we touched on the mock draft a little bit. There's a ton of guys that Georgia's going to be having moving up and down the mock draft. Without a combine, it could hurt some of those guys, but Georgia's Pro Day is going to be one to definitely watch. And then you also have the secondary options, which we touched on, and we hope that everything goes well with that. So, Trent, without any further ado, do you have anything else you got to say?
No, just I'm looking forward to this class. I got the chance, or me and you got the chance to go out to the and watch little 7-on-7 last weekend. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing some kids back in person. I mean, it feels like forever since we've been able just to get out and go enjoy, meet, build those relationships with these kids because of this COVID and not being able to see these kids. About as far as we've been able to see them is on a Friday night, and you're masked up. They can't really see who you are. You're talking to them, and it's been tough. But I'm looking forward to getting back out there with them and seeing them, and hopefully having a rivals challenge and letting these boys compete.
Right, absolutely. And guys, if you're watching, man, we sure do appreciate you guys watching us. Again, sorry about the call in there. We try to control it as best we can. We appreciate the folks that did call in and put great information into it. We appreciate Jake Roos calling in. Cool Cell gave us a call. We also got a call from Brandon to start us off, so we appreciate it so much. And Trent will be back next week. We are now at our new time. On Sundays, well, I don't even know what day it is. On Sundays at 7:30, we will be here. So, guys, Robert Piper, James Bond, Mitchell Fletcher, I-20 Eric, Anthony Spano, all you guys, Dave McStats, we appreciate you guys, as always, filling up the chat with comments so we can talk to you guys that way. And we hope that you guys have a safe and happy week, and we will talk to you next week. Trent, anything else, my man?
Look forward to seeing y'all every Sunday night. I guess this is the set time now. And
Yes, sir.
And hopefully we can build this and have a big community grow around, and we'll be back next